So nice to see everybody. Go ahead and have a seat. Elevate your hips on something, bolster block, blankets, stools, whatever you like. Cross your shins, one in front of the other. Flex your feet with your feet underneath your knee joints. Place your hands on your thighs, lift your spine up, pressing your feet against the ground so your thighs are stable. Lift your spine, drop your shoulders from your ears. Remember, the neck is part of the spine, so when you lift, it's not your spine pushing the neck up, it's the neck being part of the spine lifting it up. And just let your eyes close. Take your fingertips, if you're on the floor, just your tips of your fingers, not your palms, but if you're on a bolster, you can put your fingertips on your bolster. Just touch the floor to your left and right side of your body or your bolster and feel which parts of your fingers are pressing in harder to the floor than the others. Fingers are turned out slightly like this. So your middle finger is pointing out from your hip. If you feel more weight in your thumbs, you're leaning too far forward. Shift back. If you feel more weight in your pinkies, lean slightly forward. You kind of just with the fingers setting next to you. Tilt forward slightly, tilt back, whatever it takes to feel equal pressure in the tips of the fingers and tips of the thumb. And then lift your spine, let your neck ascend as your fingertips stay equal front to back. So the body is more centered. Take your hands into your lap. And breathe. You have the time to sit in your yoga practice, the time you've made now. Recognize that you've already succeeded in something that very few people do. You've made a choice of better for you. You've made a choice to put yourself through something that you may not know the end result, but you know it'll be a good result. As a teacher, I acknowledge the trust in that. I also think it's wonderful. But as the student making that choice, recognize that even if class was interrupted, you would have already gotten more yoga practice than had you known. That you had the discipline to stop everything else and sit. You had the discipline to get your mat out and be it, you're done. Regardless of how much yoga you do, whether it's one pose after this or the whole time, let each pose be like it would be your last. Not forced, but something you enjoy. Something that if the moment the class were to end and that was your last pose, you would be happy because you didn't force it. You learned something from it. You ended on it like it was the most important pose to do. Because we never know what's going to happen in the future. I would hate to think that any of us spend much of our time practicing yoga in a way that is about force or using yoga as something to push ourselves instead of enrich ourselves. We are challenged in yoga. But don't let it be forced, my friends. Let each pose, as if they was your last, be one that you will enjoy happily, so that you can say your practice, how you choose to do it, and what you ultimately create out of it is something that uplifts you, elevates you, and is a practice that will ultimately carry off into the world around you into other things. If you practice force in yoga, you will only put force in the world. Practice your joy in yoga, you will only put joy in the world. So choose what you want, my friends. That is yours. Bring the palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum. Blow them shortly 3 times and begin. Take a breath. Om. Flex your feet. Om. Lift the spine. Om. Bow your head. Salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise. Your eyes open. So nice to see everybody. Nice to Jeff. Good. Glad you snuck in there. It's really cool. All right. Sit in Dandasana, please. Both legs stretch straight out in front of you. Fingertips on the floor next to your hips or on your prop if you're going to sit upright right on something. Or remember, it's okay to elevate your hips. It's actually encouraged if you have tight hamstring or low back to keep pressure from pushing onto your back too much, but lift the spine up. Squeeze the thighs together, pull the toes back, flex the toes towards the face. Flex your big toe as much as your pinky toe and vice versa. Thighs together, feet together. Remember, Dandasana, the legs are tight together. It's not Uttanasana. Thighs together, Shubha. Thank you. Fingertips down, lift up, thighs together, strong thighs, pull the toes back, engage. Even if this was the pose, even if you've done it 1,000 times and it's ultimately perfect for you, practice perfection then. If it's not perfect for you, practice towards something better, different than what you got. Take both arms straight up in front, straight up alongside the body. And then feel where the body tilted front to back. If you feel like you kept it perfectly lifted, let's check that. You're going to take your hands, keep your spine where it is, take your hands down alongside your body like when we sat for the quiet moment. Turn the fingers out so your thumbs are facing towards your legs, your pinkies are facing back behind you, like that. And just only feel your fingertips on the ground and then feel where your chest is in comparison. Again, if you're pushing really hard forward, your thumbs will put more pressure into the floor. And if you're leaning back too much, your pinkies will have more pressure. Kind of find that balance point as best you can. Lean forward until you feel the pinkies lighten slightly and the thumbs harden. And then kind of work out the point between the two. Once you've got that, try to keep that, lift both arms straight up again. Might give you a little bit of different muscle action and memory to how to find your centered point. Now, you could do this with standing poses, if you could reach down and touch the floor with your fingers, if your arms are that long. But we can't. We're here just as we are in these poses. Interlace your fingers above your head. Turn your palms up to the ceiling. Extend up through the side body. And again, notice, did your chest push up? Did you lean back a little? If you need to bring your hands down and retouch the fingertips to the floor, thumb and pinky, do so. But lift up through the center of the palm, pressing more through the center of the palm than any of the finger joints or thumb itself. When you push up through that center, certain larger muscles have to work instead of the smaller connective tissues of a joint. Chin up. Are your feet still flexed? Take a nice deep breath in, lean forward, shifting your body weight towards your legs more, and stretch out, reaching your arms for your feet. And if you can, grab the big toes, one in each hand, index, middle finger, or if you cannot reach your feet comfortably, hook the strap around your foot, hold the strap straight with your body pulled forward. Squeeze your thighs back together and look at the legs. Notice if your knees are bending, they're wanting to bend out to the sides. Squeeze them towards each other first. And then try to flex the glutes and squeeze the glutes towards each other, like the large bone, the femur bone of the leg was pulling towards each other. Instead of pulling your chest down, holding onto the strap or the toes, lift your spine and chest up, moving the head up and back. So it feels like you're trying to use your back muscles to pull and stretch your arms while your arms hold on to the toe. And then squeeze your thighs back together. Warm up your hamstrings for a moment. Good. Bend your knees. Still holding your toes, bend your knees, pick your chest up and back a little bit. Bend your knees more, bring your feet together and your knees wide into Baddha Konasana. Pull the heel in close, and if you want to, press your hands onto the support or floor next to you. Lift up, scoot your hips and groin closer, and then tuck your tailbone under slightly and sit your hips down. Good. Fingertips on the floor next to your hips, fingers turned out. Are you leaning more forward or more back? Where is your spinal weight? Where is your upper body weight? If you're leaning too far forward, thumbs will feel it. Or back, it'll be more in your pinkies. Find the middle. Even if it doesn't feel centered, trust your body feedback. Going to give you some different insight. Now, once you've got that, keep it. Push your feet together. You'll have to push your feet down to get some lift. Lift both arms straight up. Palms facing each other. When your arms lifted up, your shoulders probably went up. What did not go up? Be aware, did your ribs lift away from the abdomen? Did the abdomen lift up away from the hips? And can you keep pushing the heels down to help engage the core to do so? Not your knees. Your knees will go down over time. Good. You might think, oh my God, how long do I have to hold this? A long time. Work those upper back muscles. A few more seconds then. We won't try to hold all of it tonight. Go ahead, bring your arms down. Take the hands onto the floor in front of you and walk your hands forward on the floor as far as you can, letting yourself stretch forward. As you go forward, notice if your feet can stay connected together. If you can continue to press the heel, especially the pinky toe side of the heel, harder together. Doing it. Bring the body up. Stretch your right leg straight, letting your left foot press to your inner right thigh. Grab a hold of the right foot. One hand on each side of the foot is just fine. Flex the toes, pulling the toes back, but grab the foot with both hands. Again, pull back with the chest and lift the spine up like you're trying to pull your spine away from the leg to stretch the arms while the arms hold the leg tight. Take a nice deep belly breath. When you exhale, draw the navel up. Don't pull the navel up to pull your spine down, but keep the chest spine lifted and draw the navel back as much as you can. Learning to keep the abdominal walls pulled back in forward folds, not to grip, but to pull them back and up is actually where we find some of the freedom to move deeper into this stuff. When you start working on things like Mahamudra or some of the other bandhas or mudras, a lot of it's abdominal manipulation and not gripping. One of the first ways to learn that is in forward folds like this. Push your left foot into the floor. Push your right foot against your hands. Chest still lifted. Pulling the spine up and back. And just try to practice breathing the abdomen. And when you exhale, how much of it can you pull and lift back? And notice, is it easier just to pull the sides back, or the top near your diaphragm, or the lowest near the groin? And ultimately, it's trying to get all four of those parts to pull in and wide. It's very easy for me to do the upper, lower is trickier. Even if it's for just holding that lift while you breathe for a second. And then you can let your abdomen relax after you take a couple breaths there, but try to get comfortable breathing with a lifted abdominis from a forward fold. Because if you do that, if you're lifting the spine and do that abdominal breath, it might be hard because the abdominals have to work differently, but you shouldn't be crunching down into your diaphragm and you can start to practice that. You want to get to good pranayama, better forward folds, your locks to be much more secure. Abdominal wall control is very important. You'll see videos of the old master yogis do a lot of Aloma breathing. Will sit there and wave their abdomens, can sit and control different parts of it. Bring your body up though, switch legs. Push your right foot to your inner left thigh. Push your right foot down into the floor. Reach forward with your hands and grab your left foot. If you can't grab the foot, it's okay. Use a strap, of course. So you've already got the lean forward. Notice when you come forward how much the lowest abdominis tends to grip and push forward towards the leg. That's part of what has to move back. So whenever you get a hold of strap or foot, pull the chest spine up. This is to help learn the lowest abdominis to flex upward. And just even there with your head up and back. See, this is why teaching pranayama online is hard. Like you just talk about it and then people don't know where their belly is actually. But we try to start at least using the asana forms of the pose to guide us into what those other parts could be. So pulling the head up and back, take that belly breath. Don't worry, you're not on camera, I am. Let your abdomen expand, and when you exhale, feel the four parts, the sides, one on each side, the top band near your diaphragm, the lower band near the belly button. And when you exhale, let them lift and see which two come up first or which parts come up first. And then try to hold all four of those up and wide. So you might feel your bottom ribs lift, spread a little. For just a breath or two, while still pushing the foot against the hand, the right foot into the left thigh and the right foot down. And just find your breathing in the abdominal region. Take that belly breath, try to lift all four quadrants, back, up, wide. And then breathe into the lungs once or twice. No particular other form of it. Karaka, or just inhalation, is something that Mr. Iyengar talks about a lot. If you ever studied any of his pranayama, he would just expound for hours upon just learning to breathe in correctly. And the same was true in our yoga poses, especially the asanas that we use to help tone or strengthen an area that leads to pranayama. A few more seconds, breathe. That deep belly breath, don't try to hold it gripped, but hold back and up so you feel those ribs lift. And then just hold it for a breath or two, and then breathe normally to the abdomen, then stretch it again. It's a way to tone your abdominals without making it about core work. I know you'd all be very excited if I said we were going to do. All right, go ahead and let go of the hands. Stretch both legs out in front of you. If you have a blanket or a small pillow, anything like that shape, like a yoga blanket and bolster fold, something about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. Grab that, and you're going to sit in Dandasana again with your legs straight in front of you with that on your thighs pulled close to your belly. Just like that, Shubha. Yeah. Like I said, pillows work, blankets work, anything works that allows you just to have some amount of space, 1 inch or so, to get over. So when you pull that really close, tuck it into that space right at the top of your thighs, right below your abdomen. So it's right in that crease of the hip. So it's not coming, it's not curling up the body at all. It's not coming towards your belly button. Take your hands, push your hands down on that blanket or on that pillow and lift your hot spine up, like you're trying to lift your navel farther away from the blanket that you're pushing your hands down on, right on your thighs. Push hard, lift and stretch over the blanket. Pause. If you felt your navel or your abdomen kind of slide down towards the blanket, you can even take your hand to the abdomen space right below your belly button, pull it back and up, and then stretch over it again. The action is to try and get your navel somewhere past the edge of the blanket and not let it sink down, towards the groin. So grab a hold of your toes or your yoga strap when you feel that press into your abdomen. You're right, Shubha. Stretch forward, grab your toes, dear. If you grab your toes, you'll feel your abdomen kind of depressed down into the blanket. That's normal, don't worry. Hold the toes, lift the spine up again, and then, pull the shoulders back away from the front. So if you're pulled forward and down, pull the shoulder back to pull the navel farther down your leg, and then take that belly breath again and pull the abdomen up off of the blanket itself. What you're trying to do is just give yourself a marker to feel, can you actually lift the lowest part of your abdominal wall up? It's not always easy to do. And if you're like me, carry some, I call it chocolate in my chocolate pouch. Can be very hard, but doesn't mean you still don't train the abdominal wall to do it. So if you feel that your abdomen touching the blanket, pull the shoulders back to stretch the spine forward, lift the head up to not curl, and then try to take another belly breath and pull everything up towards the spine. Just even that action, learning to do that there, pulling the navel, lowest part, upper part, back towards the spine and up, applies even to your standing poses. You want to get good at Uddiyana Bandha, you have to learn to move that abdominal wall, not just to flex it, but to pull it and manipulate it with back muscle, with lateral muscle, all sorts of stuff. All right, let go of your toes for a second. Set your blanket or pillow off to the side. If you're sitting on a bolster wide across your mat, turn it narrow down the length of it, or sit on a yoga block or something, because you need to be able to take your right foot and pull it alongside the body with the top of the foot to the floor into Virasana or hero pose. So your left leg will still be straight in front of you. You'll still be sitting on some support, unless you are someone that practices Virasana without that. And you take and pull the right foot alongside your hip so the top of the foot is flat to the floor. The toes are not kind of turned off out to the side. Squeeze your right thigh towards your left thigh. The thighs should try to touch. Grab your blanket or pillow, put it across both thighs. Place the hands on the blanket, hands on, which are on the thighs. So you're going to feel the thighs get some pressure. Lift the spine tall. Take that belly breath. Exhale, draw it back, up or lower, so the navel's retracted. Stretch forward as far as you can, bending the elbows. Keep that navel, keep that spine lifted, keep the core engaged, up and back, fold forward, and then grab your left foot with your hands. If you cannot grab your foot with both hands, use a strap. And again, shoulders pulled back, down, lift the head up. Take that belly breath again. I hope no one ate a big dinner before yoga class. That's never a good idea. He went and had chicken fried steak and dinner rolls. It's not going to be fun. So when you take that belly breath, retract it up away from the blanket. So there's only one way it can go. If you're going forward, it can't push into your lower back, which is if you grip your abdomen where the pressure tends to go, but you have to pull it up towards the ribs. So take that belly breath. Feel the four parts, the sides, the top and bottom, expand. Retract it back and up. If you feel your ribs move at all, you're on the right track. And then just lift. Keep trying to pull the spine upward. We'll make the stretch harder. Don't worry about that. Stretch is going to happen. But the action here is to learn how to control your abdominal walls. You can stretch your hamstrings any old day. And again, hold the abdominal flexion, take a couple breaths into the lungs. If you find that hard, you're probably pulling down with the abdomen instead of lifting it up. The more the abdomen pulls in and up and spreads the ribs, the easier the diaphragm can breathe. This pose is a wonderful pose. Trianga Mukha Kapada Paschimottanasana. Wonderful for resetting the hips, challenges the hamstrings, tightness of the back, of course. But that abdominal massage, that flexion you're doing where you hold it for a couple breaths and then let it go for a breath or two and then pull it back in and lift. This action is where you start to get that upper and lower abdominal control that will be important for stage breathing and other flexions, to be able to do it without tension. A lot of times, asana poses help not just stretch and warm our muscles up for pranayama, but also teach us some of the different flexions to give us that level of precision. But exhale, up you come. Stretch your right leg out and pull your left foot back. But don't worry, we'll make the stretches more. But for now, we just want to do some of that movement. Right leg forward straight, left foot back, grab your blanket or pillow, put it on your thighs and lift. If you have tight, really tight lower back, like you feel like you have compression sometimes, it's okay just even to sit in poses like this and place your hands on your thighs and just lift your spine up. Not leaning forward as much or back as much, but trying to find that middle point and just pulling that abdominal wall up can be very relieving over time. Flex your left foot, squeeze your thighs together, place your hands down, spread your fingers out. Remember, we've talked about gripping the palms in, we'll tighten the shoulders, spread the palm out, push the center palm into your thigh. So it puts the weight in your back and not your neck. Lift, take a belly breath. Exhale, let it come back, upper and lower, and then lean forward as far as you can, lean forward. And then grab the foot. Once you've got that foot, pull the shoulders back to pull the navel farther down the blanket. Pull the head up to lift the whole spine. And then take that breath again. Work that abdominal wall. And it's okay if it's not something that clicks like right out the gate, but you got to start kind of playing with it. Remember the first time you ever did down dog or stretched your hamstring? I don't know, it could have been like mine and I had no clue what I was even feeling. But just because we don't know doesn't mean we don't try, right? A big part of yoga is the search for the unknown, not just answers. There's a certain nature built into all the philosophy and thing about seeking the unknown, but not being attached to what you find. You might find when your leg is straight, you're trying to pull the belly up on this side, it doesn't work as well as the other, or it works greater. Great, you're not attached to either thing, but just doing it itself. And if you find irritation there or something there that's not what you want, that's a good place to start with the idea, the philosophy says, of growing unattached. Unattached to the things we tell ourselves or believe about ourselves that may not be true, right? Misconceptions is one of the big chittis that gets in the way of life or enlightenment. So again, taking the abdominal walls back up so you maybe feel the ribs spread. And if you feel like you're pulled down, again, pull those shoulders back to stretch the navel out so there's separation of the diaphragm from the groin. and you're lifting that area up and back. Very good. Bring the body up. Stretch both legs out wide. Upta Vista. You stretch both your legs wide. Take each hand to the inner thigh, push them apart a little bit. Don't be afraid to open the groin. Good. No blanket to put across the abdomen here, but we are going to hold this a while. So we're going to practice this a couple different ways first. Reach forward, grab a big toe in each hand. If you cannot grab the hands cannot grab the feet, of course, it's appropriate to use straps. Just don't let yourself not do it. Great. Push your feet against the hands a little bit. Lift the heart, head, chest up again. Feel what's active in your legs. If anything, the thighs should be depressing down. The heels should be depressing down, not your knee. Soft knee, strong muscle. Pull the head up like you're trying to pull the chest up so the navel stretches away from the groin. Not necessarily out farther to go down, but just lengthen any degree the space between your bottom of your navel, lift it to the top of your navel away from the groin muscle. Remember what Mr. Anger says, 2 parts moving opposite create space. So go think about the top, the very bottom of your navel, pull it to the top of the pubic region, pull it to the bottom. So you separate those two. If you do that, that abdominal wall has to retract back. And then let your chest go out a little. But as you go out, forward, because your mobility, if you ever feel the abdominals just drop, you've lost the pose. You're going to put it in your groin and you won't ultimately gain that freedom of movement because the core must hold and stabilize the extension. So this pose ultimately is not just there to make your hamstring scream, but tone and teach the abdominal walls to lift you so your back never takes that pressure. Just tone those abdominal walls and give you that abdominal control for different breath. So again, bottom of the navel pulls to the top of the pubic region, groin region pulls down so it retracts, and keep it there as you stretch forward. I have had all sorts of abdominal cramps learning to do this right. So if you have one, I'm happy for you. If you don't, congratulations. You get to be the chosen one. So for a moment, kind of test how far forward is for you. Whatever level you can take your chest out to, just kind of experiment with it comfortably now by bending your elbows and taking yourself down. But again, feel when that abdominal wall gives out. If you feel it go out, you go back to where you lost it, re-engage it, and see if you can go down keeping it. All right, very good. So you all need to remember about the height you're at. Let go of your toes, sit your bodies up. If you have a wall space, you can use a chair or a wall for this. If you have a wall space to turn and face, you turn so both your feet are touching the wall, and you can take your arms towards the wall. If you were to reach forward, you'd grab the wall. If you do not have a wall space and you have a chair, you turn the seat of the chair away from your body so you could put your hands on the top of the chair. And the chair is more in line with your feet, farther away from you. Either way works. So you can use a chair or a wall, whatever you want. You can sit on something. That always helps the tilt forward movement. When you're sitting facing the wall or the chair that's backwards, that's correct, Glinda. Stretch your legs wide back into Upta Vista. Stretch your legs. There you go, Miss Glinda. Yeah. All right, if your feet are touching the wall with your legs straight, get your toes to point straight up the wall. Use that extra prop to push into it. If you're using the chair, flex your feet and your heels should be in line with the back legs of the chair. So the chair is in line with your heels more or less, the back legs of the chair. All right. Come on, Shuba, stretch those legs wider. You can go wider than that, dear. There you go. Very nice. All right. Toes to point straight up the wall or straight up towards the ceiling. Don't let your legs go hanging out. Reach forward, grab your big toes, or if you cannot reach your big toes, it's okay to grab a strap. Don't worry, the wall and chair will come into play. We'll make sure you get to use the prop. Already notice how the head, neck, shoulder have come down. Lift them up. Get out of the slouch. Pull the navel up away from the pubic area. Take the top of the pubic area to the bottom so that abdominal is holding you. Bend your elbows a little bit to pull the shoulder chest wide to draw your chest towards the wall, still pulling the navel up away from the groin. And then, if you can hold it, take your arms up the wall as high as you can, or take both hands and forearms up onto the chair and stretch your arms past the seat of the chair. All the way up on the top part, Miss Glinda, not on the, yeah, there you go. Now slide your hands further past that point. There you go. Woo. If you are on the wall, go to your fingertips and climb. Notice your shoulders come up, but take a deep belly breath. And when you exhale, pull the abdominal wall back, like it's trying to push you back to the center of the room, and then lift your chest up off of that. Let your chest lift off of the stable abs. And and then challenge yourself to move the chest in and keep lifting up. Can you make all the rib cage movement and the upper back movement happen off of core muscle that is retracted back and up? So lift is your only option. All right, let's add a twist, shall we? Stay in the pose. If you are using a chair, your right hand goes down to the lower left chair leg. Your left arm will stay up where it is. If you are on the wall, your right hand goes down to the floor between your legs, trying to touch the wall still. If you're on the wall or chair, press your left hand into the chair or wall, bend the left elbow towards the ceiling. If you're on the chair, bend your right elbow. Everyone, just bend your right elbow, taking your right elbow towards the floor between your legs, but take your left arm higher. The more twist you want, if you're on the wall, you walk your left hand higher and to the right, and your right hand along the floor and wall towards your left foot. Woo! Now you've really stretched the left side. Are both your legs engaged? And then take another deep breath and work both sides of the abdominal wall. Just because you're in a twist doesn't mean those abdominals don't lift to help the rotation of the spine. The mid and upper spine will rotate better when the lower spine does not have to bear its maximum weight, the 10-degree bend. So if you imagined if I was to walk behind you and pull your abdominals back and up and then help you twist. So it's more important to move the right arm faster than the left arm and then check in with both legs. All right, go ahead, take both legs, both arms back up. Height, get your abdominal wall pulled back and up. Once you've got that, keep your right arm where it is, take your left hand down and to the right. If you're grabbing the chair, go down to the foot of the chair, slide that right arm past a little higher. Once you've begun the twist by bending your elbows, the right elbow going up, the left elbow going down, moving your left arm across to the right, then take that abdominal breath and move. Continue that encouragement from your breath first. So as you're in the twist, push your thighs into the ground, hips, heels, feet to the wall if you've got the wall. Don't be afraid to let that abdomen relax for a second, and then when you exhale, pull it back, lift, and then move that rotating rib cage. Exhale and twist. Good. Grab need 2 props. Now I know not everyone has the same stuff at home, so I'm going to try and make this concise as I can. You need 1 prop to elevate your chest a few inches. You can either have a block flat, you could lay on a bolster, on a pillow, something that makes your chest lift a little bit. You could, anything like that. The block would be flat, Pratima. And then you need a second prop taller than the first prop. So you could have a block flat and a block on edge, or a block on edge and a block tall, or a pillow and then a soup pot. It just needs to be 2 props that elevate one higher than the other. So then you can lay back on them with your shoulders blades, or the bottom of your shoulder blades on the first item, the smallest item, so the chest is lifted, and the head on the second item, which is tall. Pratima is like half asleep already. She's already there. She was waiting for this all day. You don't even need to have, Shubha, turn the height of your block down to at least edge, if not flat, dear, since your pillow is not very big. Yeah, that's fine. So what this does, it just moves your hips lower than your chest, which helps lengthen the abdominals. Stretch your legs out. And then take one hand under its own buttock, so left hand goes to your left buttock, and push it down towards the heel. So you're smoothing the flesh of the top of your buttock down on one side and then the other, really trying to create some evenness there. This is not restorative. Don't get so excited. Do a little bit of a pranayama practice. See if we can make use of all that abdominal wall work you just did. Let's go ahead and let your eyes close. And start kind of breathing in. Now that you've warmed up the body with some level of asana, you've had to sharpen, you've created dhyana, which is that sharpness of discernment. You created an asana by feeling your muscles, by detecting what was there. I think in the Iyengar tradition, so much of our asana work is there to prep us with sharpness and dedication, because in my experience, it's hard to lay in one spot for a long time and just breathe and kind of just see what the difference is in each breath. That's my own chitti vrittis. The asana practice asks us to be still so that we really feel what's going on, get comfortable with seeing what's going on in us, so ultimately we can work with it. In pranayama, we do so just on the subtle art of the breath. So we're going to work with Samavritti tonight. just the equal breathing. We're going to start reviewing this and going back over stuff that we had done in past years. We've all been apart for a while now, and then add into and continue our work in pranayama into the future, at least some level at class and every night. Samavritti means equal, identical, or in the same manner. Samavritti pranayama is about trying to create uniformity and duration of the 4 processes of breathing. Inhalation, or paraka, retention, antarakumbhaka, exhalation, rachaka, and retention, vayakumbhaka. Retention, antarakumbhaka is when you are full, retaining. Vayakumbhaka is when you're empty and holding emptiness. When you breathe here, start breathing from the abdomen, because the reason we started the abdominal work today is so you can learn to hold the abdominal stable while you breathe into the lungs. There is some pranayama done by the abdominals, but for right now, you want to try and learn to not grip the abdomen, but restrain it, hold it back so you can move your breath where you want. It'd be easy to keep the breath smooth and relaxed, but ultimately not explorative if we only breathe abdominally. Moving it to the lungs, to the, what I would say, energy chambers of our life are, we really have to see where all of our energy is going, right? Where we put our worry, where we put our concerns and our drama. And then what do we have left after facing the challenges of our day in life? So, as you're there now, breathing deeply from the abdomen primarily, remember what it felt like to start pulling the abdominal wall towards the spine, the bottom of your navel towards the top, and the pubic region towards the bottom of itself. So those 2 points, the belly button and pubic region, separate. Start to remember what that felt like. And on your next exhale, when you've completely emptied, draw that navel back, bottom of the navel to the top. And then your next breath comes in from the lungs, from the top corner of your shoulders, down to the tip of the diaphragm, and fills you up. So from a V, wide, to the very bottom tip, and let your breath lift from that. No matter how deep it goes in, breathe into the count of 1, hold for just a split second, and then exhale to the count of 1. And then check with your belly. If you've lost the abdomen, if you felt it move or push, don't grow critical, don't rush. Just relock it on your next exhale. At the end of your exhale, pull the breath in from the corners of the V to the very bottom and let it lift. Hold that just 1 second. You're just pulling air in for a second. Hold that 1/4 of a second, just a blip on your radar, and exhale slowly to 1. Continue to do so for the next minute. Explore what it is and what challenges there are to holding the abdominal in place while then keeping the shoulders relaxed and keeping everything else from wanting to do the work. If you cannot keep the abdominal stable, that's a clear sign there are more asana practices to do to help teach that stability. And also this, to continue to explore if it's a matter of technique or muscular capability. Note if you could get through everything I put you through earlier, probably just technique. Relax your jaw. Let your eyes sink backwards. As Mr. Iyengar would say, move your awareness from the front of your eyes to the back of your eyes. That is where wisdom lives. Pranayama needs wisdom and dedication, not power and dedication. On your next inhale, Keep breathing into the count of 1, but now hold the breath a little longer. Retain fullness for half a second, and then exhale to the count of 1. On your next retention and your next breath, when you hit that fullness to the count of 1, hold for a full second, the count of 1, and then exhale to the count of 1. Remember, not to let the abdomen lift or push. It is the navel back, pulling the bottom of the navel towards the top of the spine. The groin muscle moves down away from the navel. It is the maintaining of that abdominal lock as you then explore your breathing. This is where you start getting a lot more Uddiyana Bandha, eventually learning it standing and then seated better. Laying down is the first place to really start exploring it. Now on your next breath, you'll take a full breath into 1, hold for 1, exhale 1, and then for about half a second, hold emptiness. On your next breath, breathe in for 1 second, hold for 1 second, exhale for 1 second, hold for 1 second. Then repeat. 1, 1, and 1. Samavritti. From here, we would just start extending those. With Samavritti, it's about reaching evenness, not just in the number count, but what is the quality of your breath on your inhale, your retention, your exhale, and your retention? What challenges do you face that is the same or different for each of the 4? What do you feel in your body for each of the 4? Just because we do not know what we will find does not mean we do not explore. We only know the world by knowing ourselves, so we must explore all of ourselves. And as always, continuing that abdominal lock, that stability of the breath and spine. On your next exhale, let the abdominal lock go. Hold emptiness and then breathe in normally, leaving your eyes closed. Let your body go into more of a breathing state without flexion or grip, without manipulation. let your body move towards a Savasana state, a quiet state, where it's now not about work, but just observation. In reality, all the practice is about observation. We may tone and strengthen, change, shift, but ultimately it's just to learn more about ourselves. And those experiences that we take in and process create memories, give us clarity. And I think if you were to read the old text, the sutras, things like that, clearly there that clarity is a point of harmony or enlightenment or oneness, as many different forms of language about this say. Even if what we have clarity now on is stuff that is muddy or hard or sad, that we might see as a negative. Clarity about the muddy things lets us affect them, have conversation about them, connects us to them and then to the world. So rest, my friends, with whatever you found for a few minutes and enjoy the fruits of your yogic process. Stretch the arms overhead, lengthening through one side of the body and the other. Bend the knees. When you're ready, roll the body to the right. Press your palms into the floor and slowly up you come. Until we meet again, namaste.